Well, Congressman Graves, thank you for joining me today.
Hey, great to be with you.
Absolutely. So, with the discharge position to go into the U.S. House floor, this would force a House vote on H.R. 82 with you and Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger that have petitioned this. For those that don't know how the discharge petition works, how does this work to where it would force that U.S. House vote?
Sure. So look, this bill to solve this problem once and for all for our teachers, firefighters, police officers, and so many other public employees, it is the most co-sponsored bill in Congress. We have 326 co-sponsors. You know how divisive Congress is today. You don't get that kind of agreement on anything. And so what this does is it is a process whereby you can use the strong bipartisan support that you have to show that there's so much consensus behind the bill that you effectively mandate that it be voted on before the full House. It allows it to circumvent all of the different committees and everything else that you would normally go through. And we're doing it now because we're at a point to where if we don't do it now, then we're going to run out of time in December.
And so when you look at how this works as far as the Social Security Fairness Act, you're taking away the wind and vision, I believe it's called. Yes. So you're taking the WEP and the GPO away. So for those families that have those and are experiencing really troubling issues with that, how important is those provisions being removed for these families?
Look, this is a really huge issue. And if you're not impacted by this, the quick explanation is that if you chose to do public service like a sheriff's deputy, a firefighter, police officer, teacher, and other professions that are really important to our community, then you will actually be discriminated against. You will get a cut or a reduction in your Social Security benefits as compared to other people that similarly paid into the Social Security system. And so this is not the time to be doing this. I mean, think about what we have right now in Louisiana, Hurricane Francis bearing down on us. It's the police officers, the first responders that are actually headed south while everyone else is evacuating and heading north. And these are the people that we're trying to cut, that without our legislation will continue to experience a cut in Social Security benefits. Those are those of their spouse or widow. And so what this bill does is it simply brings them back up to a fairness formula to where they're not discriminated against, that they're treated like everyone else who paid into the Social Security system. Right now, people are on food stamps. Retirees are on food stamps because they can't afford to be retired because of this reduction in Social Security payments. So this helps to restore it, giving people back what they paid into the system and allowing them to live a reasonable retirement. This is nothing that's going to enrich anyone. This really does address those that are in the much lower income levels for the most part.
And so you had mentioned today the Congressional Budget Office confirmed that historic retirement theft from public service. You had said that if this act is not signed into law this year, you would see $195.6 billion in Social Security benefits that'll be stolen from public service retirees over the next decade. Kind of elaborate on that and kind of explain why this is such an important act, not only for Louisiana by itself, but for the whole country as a whole.
Because of the discriminatory formula that is applied to people that chose public service in state and local government, what's happened is that they have not received the same level of Social Security payments that anyone else who worked in the private sector and paid into Social Security would have received. So this has been going on for 40 years now. So if you look back over the 40-year history, hundreds of billions of dollars have been inappropriately kept by the Social Security Administration. The Congressional Budget Office just confirmed yesterday that over the next 10 years, so prospectively, that those same beneficiaries and their spouses, their widows, would end up losing roughly $196 billion in payments over the next 10 years. So, I mean, it really is stealing. I mean, think about it. If this were a private company and you paid into a retirement fund, and then the retirement fund said, well, we're going to keep the money. And people would get charged for that. They would go to jail for that. It's called embezzling. for some reason in government, people just call it budgeting and think it's okay. It is similarly stealing. And so what the Congressional Budget Office just released yesterday was incredibly powerful. It verifies the importance of this legislation, and that it's going to steal from these folks nearly $200 billion over the next 10 years. And we need to be encouraged during incentivizing people to choose to be important professions like teachers and police officers, not disincentivizing them or disrespecting them by telling them these aren't honorable professions.
And so this is something that you've obviously been covering over the past couple of years, right? And back in January is when this fact really was published out and brought out. But how important is the bipartisan legislation with this? Because you add in your Republican congressman and then you have a Democratic congresswoman that are coming together for this issue. How important is that bipartisanship?
Look, as crazy as Congress has been over the last few years, I think it is absolutely critical that if you want to truly get something done, that you work together on a bipartisan basis when that is an accomplishable task, when it's something that's doable. And in this case, because look, this issue transcends political parties. It affects Republicans, Democrats, those with no party affiliation. This has no ideology associated with it. And Congresswoman Spanberger of Virginia has been a great partner with us on this, so we have bipartisan support. You know, I'm going to mention just this remarkable statistic. This is the most co-sponsored bill in all of Congress. Out of 435 members of Congress, we've got 326 co-sponsors on this bill. You just don't see that sort of agreement, unfortunately, on anything right now. And so certainly when you have those rare occurrences, I think that bill needs to be recognized, rewarded, which is exactly what the discharge petition does by ensuring that it gets a vote on the House floor.
One final thing for you. What's the next step in this process, and how is that going to look in the next couple of days?
And so we just signed this discharge petition, started the process today at 10 a.m. I just left the House floor right above me now, and we had 110 signatures, and just the hours from 10 a.m. till now, 110 signatures. So we have to hit 218 signatures. So I'm not making any promises, but obviously if we keep the same pace, we certainly will hit it in the next few days, and would be able to then see a 7-day legislative clock begin ticking. So 7 days we're in session. We then would be at the point where we could call the bill up for a vote and be able to vote on this bill and see it then go over to the United States Senate for action in the Senate, and then send it over to the president for signature. It'd be really exciting considering for 40 years these people have been dealt this penalty, have had their benefits reduced, and finally, after all this time, seeing light at the end of the tunnel and a fix here.
Well, definitely something to look forward to. Congressman Graves, thank you for joining me today.